I got to say, we started recording at exactly the same time on the last episode. It was amazing.
Are you saying that we are drift compatible?
Drift compatible, Brad.
We don't even need the beep anymore. We don't need to use any timekeeping APIs to sync our recordings. Nope. We're just doing it psychologically, kind of telepathically.
We absolutely need the beep. But trying to synchronize the conversation on episodes with no beep is, oh my God. You just end up second guessing yourself the whole way through because you're like, is he talking over here, or is this just a place where where the latency on the call messed up the way the conversation flowed?
Was he just stopping to think for a second?
Is this a pause? Is this a pregnant pause, or is this just the clocks have drifted on the two different audio files? And
when did you have to sync without the click track stuff? Did that happen?
I don't believe it happened on this podcast. However,
okay. I was going to say my podcast etiquette and protocol are above reproach.
Yes, no, you are a very good podcast co-host. On some of the other podcasts I've done in the past, the other co-hosts were less fastidious about their clapping and synchronizing sounds, and as a result, we occasionally would have to eyeball the sync. And since we did video there, you had to do it based on mouth movements.
Oh, no.
I'm real bad at. I can't read lips, it turns out.
This is why it's important to observe proper procedure.
Got to always follow the process. That was too short.
Was it?
It's 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Don't we make the rules?
Yeah, but I think it's too short. I'm making the rules.
The more we talk, the longer it goes.
That's true.
We can salvage this. What else you got?
I got nothing else right now. I'm looking around my desk furiously looking for something I can talk about.
I have too many DualShock 4s. What am I going to do with DualShock 4s? Because I can't use them on anything except PlayStation 4, which now lives in the closet.
You can use them on PlayStation 5.
Wait, can you?
Yeah, they're forwards compatible.
Wait.
You lose the good triggers.
Oh, God, you're right. Aren't you? Am I losing my touch?
You got the touch.
Am I losing my moral authority on business of video games? Hang on.
You got the power.
Wait, you're totally right.
Yeah, they don't work very well in my experience. I tried it. The bummer is you can't use when I got my PS5, I wanted to use the old PS4 as like a remote station for the PS5 in the other rooms. And you can't do that at all.
Wait, you can't?
Well, you can, but you have to use the PS4 controller, and then you can't plug a PS5 controller into the PS4.
Oh, definitely not.
And get the good triggers on your remote play PS5 games through the PS4. So throw it all out.
I guess these DualShock 4s still have some utility. I'll keep them around in this drawer for all those people I'm having over to play multiplayer PlayStation games.
I'm going to tell you, if it's the launch DualShock 4, the ones that are creaky, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but just get rid of them. You're not going to use them.
Oh yeah, no. I'm all light bar all the time in here at this point.
Double light bar,
but even
light bar
then,
pad, whatever.
I'm just going to keep piling these controllers up. Day. Yes.
It's one of my favorite controllers. It's a really good controller.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. But I mean, yeah. I've got Xbox 360 controllers and DualShock 4s and Xbox One controllers, and they just keep multiplying. I'm just going to keep keeping them. One day, I'm going to build a house out of them.
Did you?
I will just build a home from old video game controllers.
Did you all have a free table at GameSpot? Like the table where people chuck the stuff that they didn't want anymore and they're cleaning off their desks and stuff?
Not really, because everything we had was pretty much in use all the time. If you mean controllers and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, so at Max PC, we would get a regular supply of things that were inexpensive to the point that they weren't worth return shipping on. And it ranged from for a while, somebody was on a couple of movie studios mailing lists. So there'd just be a bunch of DVDs 50 DVDs every week would come in.
Yeah.
And he would pick through the ones that he wanted and then chuck the rest out on the free table. And it would be swag t-shirts and hats. But occasionally it would be something really good.
Oh,
like an Xbox 360 controller.
Wow.
Or once upon a time, there was a Logitech steering wheel with a shifter and wheels for the previous generation. I think it was for the PS2 era in the 360 PS3 days.
Wait, hang on. Are you telling me that racing wheels are not forward compatible?
They are now, but back then, less so.
Wow.
Well, remember the PS2 had that weird plug.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't USB.
Talk about amassing building materials.
Yeah. Look,
stacks of racing wheels.
You have racing wheels and plastic guitars. I could build a house out of plastic guitars.
Hey, look, a wise man once said, don't buy a racing wheel. And I think we can stand by that.
Did you ever go to Circuit City when they were closing out all the Rock Band and Guitar Hero stuff? Like when Circuit City was going out of business?
I don't think so.
So that Circuit City on Van Ness, the one up on the north end of Van Ness, right when you get to the top of the hill, we went on closeout day, and pretty much all that they had 3 days before they shut down forever was a whole bunch of like coffee makers and bad coffee grinders and stuff like that. And then literally room after room after room of Guitar Hero and Rock Band controllers.
For how discounted are we talking?
Look, I think if you picked them up and took them out without paying, they wouldn't have complained.
Did you make off with some guitars?
I had enough guitars, so I didn't take more guitars. I was good. You know, the failure rate on the late era harmonics instruments was pretty good. So I didn't feel the need to get spares. I also didn't realize that genre was going to go away forever and you'd never be able to buy new ones. So, you know, lessons learned. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. Season's greetings to you.
Season's greetings, Brad.
To all.
It is that time of year again. Mm-hmm. It's the winter inning is upon us.
Yes, we're in the interim between the Thanksgiving and the Christmas, etc.
What was your pie sitch last week?
Did you really? Oh, I can't believe you're bringing this up. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Our pie situation, we were going to buy a pie.
Okay.
Safeway sells half pies now, which I was pretty stoked about considering there's only 2 of us at the moment.
I mean, A, that's probably a healthy amount of pie for 2 people to eat. But B, I'm a little disappointed in you, Brad.
Well, then buckle up because it's about to get worse.
Oh, no.
But I do salute the half pie. Like that's 2 pieces for 2 people over a couple days. That's like a sensible amount of pie.
Yes.
Instead, some pie was gifted to us from my partner's place of work.
Okay.
Some leftover pie was brought home.
Oh.
Some
you got free table pie.
Some leftover Costco pumpkin pie in a big old pile. like
a heap of pie?
It did not get transferred very elegantly into the container, let's say. So it was sort of haphazard chunks of pumpkin pie handed down from a work event. That was our pie situation for Thanksgiving.
I gotta say, Costco pumpkin pie, pretty strong.
It was actually, I was surprised. For as unpresentable as it looked, it was very tasty.
I have been at places where there were Costco pumpkin pies served before, and I was not unhappy with the pumpkin pie.
Costco food, I mean, in general, I got mostly pretty nice things to say. Those chickens, those roasters, man, when we talked about it, like, we know what it is doing to the Earth's sediment layer, but...
Well, we learned after we went to the drive-in the other day that there's a Costco just around the corner, and like the pro move when you go to the drive-in, where the tickets are very cheap and they make all of their money on the concession stand, is to just swing by Costco and grab a couple of pizzas on the way in.
Ooh, wow.
And then like we saw somebody next to us eating a hot and ready from Little Caesars, and I was like, I don't know if I'm into that kind of lifestyle at this point in my life. But a Costco pepperoni, I'll eat a Costco pep.
Totally different. Good. Completely different.
Yeah, it's a completely legitimate pizza there.
You just made me realize. First of all, I saw your Chevy Bolt.
The Volt is the one with a gas motor. This is all electric.
Okay, baby. I don't know why I can't keep those straight. First of all, I saw your Chevy Bolt for the first time in person a few days ago and was shocked at how compact it is.
It's itsy bitsy.
It seems very sensible as an around town car. But the other thing that you just made me realize is the number one reason that I would maybe ponder owning an automobile is trips to Costco whenever you want.
Oh, yeah. There's no added cost. It's just the wear and tear on your soul.
Right. Well, yes. I mean, that goes without saying. But being able to just go to Costco anytime you want, as opposed to like twice a year strategically, like, okay, we got to rent a car. Like, we got to really make this one count because it's not like we can just go to Costco anytime we want.
Yeah, no, you gotta really stockpile the toilet paper if you're gonna make it two trips a year to Costco. That is
literally the barometer by which we plan our Costco trips. Is like, all right, well, we're down to one. We're on the last package, so we better start planning.
Do you do like a city car thing anymore? Like city car share one of those?
We use Zipcar.
Okay,
which is obviously a hell of a lot more convenient than like renting an actual car. But
yeah,
comes with its own complications.
I mean, look, the cost of this car is perfect for suburb life, right? Like we drive back and forth most days. The only thing we do is drive back and forth to school these days. Sometimes we go to a store or something, but like for the most part, it's like to school and back, which is like 5 miles each way. And it costs nothing to run. There's very little maintenance. Like I looked at the brakes the other day and they show no use despite us putting 3,000 miles on the car.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. It's I like it a lot. The battery situation is not ideal. But Chevrolet and LG seem to be working on that, albeit slower than I would like.
Wait, are they just going to replace the battery at some point?
They're replacing the battery in every single one of those cars. Yes.
Wow.
But like they're scheduling replacements based on how likely your car is to explode.
Oh,
and since we're low mileage and a new car, we're really low on the list. So like I was looking at the dates. I was like, they might not even get to us before it's time to turn the lease back in 2 years, 2.5 years. Anyway,
play it safe.
I mean, look, we don't charge above 80% or whatever it is they're telling us. And like, it's fine.
Hey, new technology.
Yeah. If it's someplace that it catches on fire, then it'll probably just singe the driveway a little bit. It'll be fine. What are we here to talk about this week, Brad?
'Tis the season.
We said that already.
Oh, happy holiday.
No. We're talking about gifts.
Yes.
It's not a gift guide.
Welcome to I was literally about to say welcome to the 2021 official Tech Pod gift guide episode.
Shit, we should have talked about this beforehand.
This is not a gift guide.
This is not a gift guide. It's like, look, so coming from magazine land, I don't like gift guides because gift guides were in most cases, in my experience, an excuse for people to get in a bunch of stuff that they thought was cool, but would never spend money on.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for me, getting somebody something that is novel, but that you would never actually spend your own money on for yourself is a pretty bad gift.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not practical. I mean, what do they, if you're not going to buy it for yourself, then what do they want with it?
That's it. Like I like to give things that I like use and love and would happily spend my own money on to get for myself. And that's the lens through which we kind of sat down to make the list of things that are in our not gift guide.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, as you age, as you grow up, as you move from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, you hit a certain point in disposable income where like the fun, unattainable gifts are no longer unattainable, right? Like if it's like a video game or, I mean, granted, you're probably not trying to buy the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier late in life, or maybe you are.
I'm going to tell you at Comic-Con when they sold that a few years ago, there was a giant fucking line of all adults.
Okay, I believe it actually. Yeah. But you know what I mean? The point is like you reach adulthood, like little, things that are just meant to entertain you, you just buy when you want them. Like you don't need to wait for Christmas to get your one Super Nintendo game for the year. You just buy your, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, dude, I was sitting talking to Gary, who his daughter and my daughter are really good friends, and they were playing and we were chatting, and I was like our kids are 9 and 9.5, right? And it's like, what do you get? Like normally when I was 9, I wanted video games, right? 9 or 10, I wanted video games because I wasn't really asking for toys very much anymore. But
you didn't have the money to buy a game yourself necessarily. Yeah. Or if you could save it up, it took quite some time.
Yeah, it was a big expenditure. So getting like a bonus game or maybe 2, if I could get the grandparents to pony up too, was a real haul. But they don't have that because the world of video games is accessible to them, and realistically all they want to play is Roblox and Animal Crossing. So,
oh God, I didn't even think about what that's like as a child these days. That so many of them, I mean, I'm sure it's not a coincidence that so many of the most popular games are freely accessible, as in free to play. But even games that would cost $50-$60 are largely on things like Game Pass now. So,
well, that's it. Yeah, but Gary and I both buy, if we don't get stuff sent to us, then we still buy most of the new releases just because we like to stay up on it. And like actually I showed her how to use, I set up the Xbox Series S in the living room the other day, and I showed her how to use Game Pass. She was like, wait, I can just download all of these games. I was like, yeah, these are all there. You can just play any of them, whatever you want, as long as it's not like, super gory or whatever. It's going to give you nightmares. She's like, oh. And then she started playing Forza. So,
Wow.
baby steps.
That's wild as a child to have access to that stuff. I mean, it does. I see people talking about this. Like, it does potentially lead to that devaluation of choice of just like, I have access to all this stuff for essentially free. I mean, setting the subscription price aside. So like, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on each thing and not really value them as experiences. It's just like, oh, well, I've touched that. I don't care anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's people talk about the same thing with like a Mister or emulation. It's like, oh, I have the entire library of all these consoles and now I'm going to play none of them.
Well, and also the challenge becomes like, hey, how do I play this game, or how do I beat this game, or how to get the most value out of this game that I saved up my lawn mowing money for a month to buy.
Right.
And it turns into, I don't have any idea what to play because I don't know anything about these games, and there's an infinity of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because like, in addition to the Game Pass games, she also has access to the entirety of whatever I bought digitally on the Xbox One and through Games with Gold and all of that stuff over the last like 10, 12, 20 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
I think a corollary to all this is that kids are generally pretty easy to buy gifts for because they're very good at knowing what they want and telling you what they want.
Pretty true. Yeah.
So I think we're probably here more to talk about gift giving between adults, which is not often the easiest thing.
If you want to give gifts to kids that are good, like if you have kids in your life and you want to give them thoughtful and good gifts, talk to their parents, find out what books they're into. Books are awesome, always good. Figure out which of the free-to-play games they like to play, whether it's Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft, and buy them the appropriate digital currency for those.
I gift wrapped these V-Bucks for you.
I mean, look, you want to see a kid get excited, they're going to be able to buy the banana costume. They'll fucking bounce off the walls at that.
Oh yeah.
So,
no, of course. But again, like giving gifts to adults who can just buy whatever they want already.
Yeah.
That's where things get tricky. That's where, yes, for sure.
Well, and it's like, it's easy to do the thing where you just are like, I'm going to spend way too much money on this because this is something I know they would never buy for themselves. But that's kind of a cop out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do that for your spouse maybe, but
sure.
But not your brother-in-law.
I mean, the
sorry, Barry.
We've got a little list of guidelines here that we think are ways to give thoughtful gifts. But for me, every one of my favorite gifts through adulthood that I've gotten or that I've given to people are, like in my case, things that not only did I not know that I wanted them, but I'd never even heard of them. Like I didn't even know it was a category of product until they gave it to me. And I feel like the two goals you're trying to fulfill with a good gift are you're trying to make their life better in some way, some small, you have streamlined this person's daily existence in some way.
Reduce the pain of living. Yeah.
Yes. And second, you have shown that you really thought about who they are as a person and what they like to do and what their life is like. And like you've put thought into the gift. Like my girlfriend is really good at this, like finding just like, not like you said, it's not big, expensive, extravagant stuff. It's like, oh, I know you like to put ice in your water. I got you this much nicer ice tray than the crappy old ice trays we've been using forever. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this ice tray has like it slides out. It's got like a slide pull handle and like a silicone cover to keep junk in the freezer from getting on it. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, it's just a slightly better ice tray, but this is like so cool in terms of like something that I already like to do, getting just a little bit better.
Well, it's the year that we discovered the Zojirushi thermal mugs when Dave bought that one at Whiskey, and like I was like, this thing is incredible.
Yeah, that's like the perfect example.
I got them for everybody that drinks coffee the first year, and then but I didn't get them for the people who didn't drink coffee. And my sister doesn't drink coffee. My brother-in-law does, so he got one. And then my sister started using it when she was out working on the tractor at her horse farm. And she used it to keep drinks cold in the summer. And she was like, this thing is incredible. I put like 1 cube of ice in here and my ice water stays cold all day. I was like, oh. So then I got them for the people who don't drink coffee the next year. It was great. But something like that, like it doesn't spill. It keeps your coffee hot. It keeps your cold drinks cold. It's something you probably didn't know was that as good as it is. And that's the bar.
Yes,
that's what we tried for.
Yeah, of course. Like we are not in a position to recommend stuff like that because you have to know the person. You have to know what they do and don't have. Like,
yeah,
describing things that you don't know about already is pretty tough.
Going to a gift guide on random website is not going to give you, it might give you something that prompts you to think about something that person likes.
That's true.
But it's not going to, like, you can't just, it's not like you can go to the Wirecutter's guide for the 100 best gifts in 2021 and just be like, oh, well, number 1, 2, and 3, that's it. We're done.
Right. Because, yeah, the best gifts are as personalized as possible.
I love finding Etsy stuff that's good. Like Etsy's a little bit dangerous because sometimes Etsy stuff is just like mass produced bootleg stuff.
Sure.
Like if you want to get a pair of Groot earrings that are not the officially licensed ones, you can go to Etsy and find that.
Okay, you mean like copyright infringing stuff?
Yeah,
I see.
But also if you want to find something, like if you have a friend who's like a huge fan of something that doesn't have merch surrounding it, right? Like there's a lot of properties and there's a lot of media stuff and there's a lot of games that are successful and big, but like they don't make Hitman. Well, I guess they are making Hitman merch now, but they traditionally IO hadn't made a bunch of Hitman merch that's like wall art or something like that. And you get a cool, like actually done by a real artist print or original of, you know, your favorite game or your gift Getty's favorite game or something like that. That's a cool thing, I think.
Etsy is an interesting suggestion because, I mean, this is very outdated thinking, but to me, in my mind, Etsy is still very much like handmade craft type stuff, like knitting.
There's a lot of that.
Handmade art, like that kind of thing. Like it's very artsy craftsy in my mind because I think that's kind of where it's got its start, right? Largely.
Well, I mean, that was the early perception. There was a lot of like, it's originally started as a lot of stuff made by hand from like metalworking and like jewelry making. There's a lot like, somebody I follow on Twitter makes space inspired jewelry, and like she gets beads and does the beads that are the right scale and colors to represent different planets and moons and stuff like that.
That sounds
and it's
awesome.
like, it's really cool, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have somebody in your life that loves space, it's an awesome kind of jewelry gift for them.
Sure. Yeah. The thing I was gonna say though is like I feel like the domain of Etsy has expanded a lot in the last 2-3 years. Like there's you find a lot of electronics on there now. Like,
well, they stopped gatekeeping. Yeah. And also, but like the electronics you find, like Mr. Add-ons started on Etsy.
That's right? What I mean. I don't know if he did. There is gosh, I feel like I should.
One
I feel
of the
like
big Mr. stores started on Etsy.
I feel like I need to look up his name to give him due credit. But one of the other, it's not Mr. Add-ons, but there's another. The name is on the tip of my tongue. But yes, one of the other big Mr. Add-on makers.
It was the UK one, right?
That might be right.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff like this. There's a lot of people doing like custom lighting kits. Like if you want to if you have a Lego set that you love, like your friend has a Lego set that they display because they love it, whether it's like the Friend Central perk or the Seinfeld set or something like that. You can buy lighting kits for those that have LED lights that you wire through the bricks, and it'll light up the lights in the Lego set and set it light it like a set.
I'm sorry, I'm making faces. I'll explain in a second.
Okay.
Before we finish this thought. But yeah, like I think like, I guess the thing I'm talking about has risen in tandem with like the accessibility of getting your own PCBs done and stuff like that. Is like regular people with the electronic skills can make a literal device with, you know, circuit boards and everything these days, all kind of made to order. Right. And there's a lot more of that kind of stuff on there. So Etsy is probably a good place to poke around for stuff. Although the reason I was making a face, I clicked on their main gift guide, like gift kind of promo unit on the front page.
Yeah.
And like in the very top, the very top row of results.
Yes. There's
a fair amount of adult material coming to the surface here.
I'm pretty sure you can get custom dildos made if you want them made on Etsy. Yeah.
There is a line of candles fashioned like genitalia right here on the top line.
That's just
some stuff of that nature.
I would say if you have any questions about whether that's an appropriate gift, any hesitation whatsoever, that's probably not an appropriate gift.
Probably
the genitalia candles.
Yes. I am confident our listeners are able to self-filter. Yeah. Wow, here's a large Pokeball that's a terrarium.
But yeah,
that's cool.
Like stuff like that. There's all sorts of weird, cool stuff. Like there's like if you want to get a bag. Like a leather, like a really nice handmade leather bag. That's something you can find on Etsy that somebody who's really freaking good at making that stuff will be able to make for you. Right.
Yeah. I didn't expect to talk about Etsy so much because I've never really engaged with it. But like, do you have any recommendations for, I guess, quality controls?
Look at reviews.
About? Like,
look at the user reviews and make sure they're verified purchases, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We have in the past like done. Like we got a Christmas card, some Christmas card art done one year on Etsy. We have bought personalized jewelry. Like there's a bunch of laser cutter stuff. Most people don't have access to a laser cutter, and like you can get like Christmas ornaments and all sorts of other stuff laser cut for you there.
Yeah, I've seen some like incredibly nice custom neon sign work and stuff like that. Like there's just people with skills are out there doing some really cool stuff in storefronts like this.
Yeah, like it's the same thing that eBay did with people who collect weird stuff 25 years ago. You know, it's just for people who have specific making skills. So yeah, definitely check Etsy. The other one is like, I don't ever feel bad about buying someone a cheap, really special purpose tool. Like if you want a biscuit joiner, which is like a tool that you use to join two pieces of wood together on a right angle.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say a biscuit joiner?
Yeah, the biscuit is it's like a little piece of like sawdusty wood compressed stuff that you jam. Like, so the biscuit cutter cuts a gap that's exactly the right size for the biscuit to go. And then you fill the hole with wood glue and you jam the biscuits in there and put glue in the other side. And the moisture from the glue makes the biscuit expand and it makes a really, really strong join.
Okay.
That's flush.
I was thinking a very, very different type of biscuit cutter.
It's not the good kind of biscuit.
And I got very excited.
Well, so what I was going to say is like my dad was doing cabinetry stuff a few years ago and I bought him a Harbor Freight biscuit cutter. And like the joke about Harbor Freight is that you buy those tools and like, like they're good right up until the moment that they catch on fire. Right. They're cheap and they break usually spectacularly.
I wanted to ask because you wrote Harbor Freight Tools in the notes here. Is that a brand? Is that a vendor that sells other people's tools? I've heard that name over the years, but I never quite knew what the.
So it's a brand. It's like off-label. It's like off-label, the cheapest of the cheap power tools, basically.
Okay. Oh, power tools, not
power tools.
Okay.
Yeah. So like
there is genuine stuff that can go wrong there.
Well, yeah. I mean, usually the motors just burn out, right? But yeah, it's like you buy them. My rule is if you use a Harbor Freight tool long enough to burn it out, it's probably worth investing in a better version of that tool. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And they are incredibly cheap. Okay. Just to be clear, I would not buy a Harbor Freight tool that is used like that's going to keep you from dying. Like, don't buy floor jacks from Harbor Freight.
Do they sell them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Somebody's buying them.
Right here on the homepage. I would not buy, or if you do buy floor jacks from Harbor Freight, put blocks under the thing that you're using to jack up and then lower them back down using the jack. Don't get under something that's only held up by a Harbor Freight floor jack.
Buying the good thing sometimes is worth it.
Well, yeah, but like power tools, there's so many screwball one-off tools. Like the biscuit cutters, the biscuit joiner is the exact right like space to think about this because it's like something you use. Like I've had one for 10 years and I've used it for 2 projects, right? It's really convenient when I have those 2 projects, but it's absolutely not something I needed to spend $500 because it's a really specialized tool. And like, if you get a good one, it's going to be really fucking expensive.
Right.
So
for how little you're using it, buying the cheap one was totally, if it only lasts like 3 more projects and then breaks, like that's fine. Right. I mean, because it was so cheap.
Yeah. Honestly, if I go to use it the next time and it doesn't work, I'm fine. Like I got
Sure.
my $35 worth out of it on the first project, realistically. Like it's okay to give somebody something that's like, if they want a reciprocal saw, then get them a cheap one. And if they burn that out, then maybe they can consider it's a sign that they need to invest in a good one. So I asked the Discord.
Mm-hmm. You employed a thread.
I deployed a thread and I gave some criteria like low cost, high value gifts that people really liked getting or giving. And like the obvious stuff came up, the things that we've recommended on the podcast, like nanotape.
Mm-hmm.
People like nanotape's awesome.
Hey, turns out,
buy nanotape.
Still pretty good. I feel a little bit of guilt over my recommendation of like command strips early on in this podcast. At that time, I was way into command strips, and then
look, you didn't know.
I did not know.
You hadn't seen the light.
I did not know.
I'm going to tell you the truth. The nanotape sounded too good to be true.
It's true.
Yeah, it wasn't until I bought something that had it on the bottom that I was like, this stuff is amazing.
You have to be careful though with it. I have to say,
you can peel the plaster off the walls if you're
really
not careful.
Can. In a very and extremely minor, not really a big deal way, I broke my PS5 stand because of nanotape.
Wait, really?
Last week.
Oh no.
You know how, well, you have one now. You know how in horizontal position, how flimsy that stand is.
Only like weirdos use a PS5 in horizontal position.
I don't have room to.
Got to just put it behind the TV.
Things like 6 feet tall. Okay, I can't stand that thing up.
Okay.
You know how the stand like hangs if you pick the PS5 up, like it literally hangs off the back, like it's very flimsy.
Yeah.
I've been using a couple little pieces of nano tape to stick it to the bottom, which is nice and sturdy.
Yeah.
But then when I needed to take the stand off, it was my fault. It was not the nano tape's fault.
Oh no.
I just pulled from the very bottom of the stand where the disc rotates instead of really wedging my fingers
straight down instead of doing the
So one of the little tabs that holds the spinny disc part of the stand on, it didn't entirely break, but it's like on the verge of breaking. Like it's fine.
Is it glueable?
Probably.
Get a little super glue on there.
Is it worth gluing? I don't know. Like when it's sitting, it's fine. It's just when I pick it up and turn it, it's a little wonky, but whatever. Also, you can't get a replacement PS5 stand easily, it turns out.
Really?
I thought that might just be something that Sony would sell you, but...
Did you call or did you just look at the website?
No, I was just Googling around. Like there's a bunch of very crappy knockoff AliExpress stands.
I bet if you call, they'd sell you one.
They might. Yeah, it's not broken. It's nowhere near broken enough to be worth that. Anyway, sorry. Nano tape is good.
I was going to say the nano tape I've used is always like sticky on one, like gluey on one side and nano on the other.
Oh, really?
I haven't used the double-sided nano tape.
Oh, that's what we have. That's what I have on my PS5 is it's nano on both sides.
Huh.
You got to get that double nano.
I feel like I'm going to get a roll of the double nano just so I can double side stuff when I need to.
It's great for something like that where you don't want crappy adhesive residue on your PS5 when you take it off, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and it lasts forever, man. Like, cause you just take it off, you kind of rinse it off and it's good to go again. It's magic.
Pretty much. Unless you stick it to something where a bunch of bits of junk come off.
Yeah.
Little bits of wood or something.
Nobody likes junk. See, another thing people like, battery packs. There's a whole lot going on in the battery pack market right now. There are battery packs that will charge your laptop.
I saw
bananas.
I saw I was looking at an Anker. Are you an Anker?
That's my understanding is that's how they pronounce it.
Okay. I saw an ad for one the other day that first of all has a straight up wall outlet in it.
Yeah. 120 watts, I think is what it said.
Also
which is low.
And also the output is such that you can straight up run a laptop off of it, which is just nuts.
Yeah. There's some they're doing ones that are more for like disaster preparedness stuff now that are bigger and have flashlights and stuff like that on them now.
Oh yeah. I think this one did have a flashlight. That's awesome.
I think having one of those in your house is incredibly useful if the power goes out or something like that, just so you can it gives you a way to charge you can charge that in your car when the power is out, and it gives you a way to charge your phone overnight or whatever without having to jump through a bunch of hoops if your power's out for a while.
Yeah.
I would say get the Anker ones with the Power IQ stuff, charge everything at the full speed, which is kind of what you want. Like the less time you spend plugged into that thing, the better off you are.
Yeah. I started to ask if you think that one of the ones with wireless charging is worth having, but I think you just answered that question because like you said, you want to charge stuff as fast as possible, and that's not the fastest way to do it.
Well, and the wireless charging reduces the efficiency a lot. Right. So you're going to lose X percentage of you're just piping a bunch of the energy that's stored in the battery off into the ether, which if you're just need extra charge at the end of your workday, then yeah, it's fine to do the wireless charging. If you're in a disaster situation, you don't know when the power's going back on, you don't want to waste any of the juice in the battery. Also, if you need that because your phone dies at the end of the day when you're sitting at your desk, just buy a USB charge.
Yeah, I was going to say if you know somebody who works at home or even in an office, if they don't have wireless charging stand for their phone, that is a great little $15, $20, $30 thing.
Yeah, they're really good. I absolutely
very
love
useful.
Mine.
Very,
all the
very
time.
handy to have.
Let's see. Another thing people recommended, AeroPress.
Yeah, there's a lot of coffee talk in there.
Look, they got into the dark side of the coffee where there was talk of briping and all sorts of other strange stuff.
Did you say the briping?
It's called the brew pipe. It's a little copper pipe that you put the coffee in, you torch it with the water while you suck the water through it, and you sip out of it with a cork end on a look. I have questions about the bripe.
Is this drugs?
No, it looks like drugs.
It sounds like drugs.
But the AeroPress is I've been using AeroPresses off and on. I don't use them all that much anymore because they don't make as much coffee as I need in the house. But the AeroPress is a really good way to make 1 cup of coffee. And you should not follow the instructions that come with it when you use it. You should look up on the YouTubes how to brew coffee with an AeroPress and follow those instructions instead.
I do feel like whoever is the recipient of any kind of single serving coffee method needs to be pretty serious about coffee.
It's a lot. It's like if you're used to just hitting the button on the Mr. Coffee and dumping in your Folgers,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of work for you.
I mean, we have a burr grinder and a decent drip filter. It's not a Mr. Coffee, but like we definitely are fall out of bed and like press the button on the machine people.
Do you grind the coffee the night before?
Yes, which I know is not ideal.
Yeah, see.
But, well,
look, I'm not going to judge you.
When it's my responsibility to make the coffee,
yeah,
but then the other party is getting up at 5 a.m. to go to work, I'm grinding the night before.
Fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, when your cohabitant wakes up at the wee hours and wants a cuppa.
But it's the expectation that I am going to have that ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it the night before.
Look,
I mean, is it really that bad? Like
No, it doesn't. I mean, look, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're losing a little bit, but who cares? Like you're also not getting woken up at 4:40 in the morning to make the coffee.
Yeah. The main thing I would say is just like, don't give elaborate coffee making stuff like this to somebody unless you know for sure they're down for it, because like it's possible. Like I bought one of the cone filters a few years ago and then kind of found that I wasn't really down for the labor involved in pour over.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's me making a cup of coffee is about a 6-minute process if I have the water warm.
Okay.
But it's taken me a long time to get that to a 6-minute process. Right.
Actually, it wasn't just the labor. I also was just bad at it. Like the amount of sediment I was getting was like overwhelming and stuff like that. So like it's a definite commitment.
Well, there's a skill, and also people's coffee taste varies dramatically. Like the thing that we often talked about when I was doing a lot of coffee stuff at Tested is that the kind of coffee brewing technique that people like is basically what they grew up with, right? Like what their parents had. So if your parents were percolator people, you probably like a really heavy cup with a lot of body and a lot of stuff happening in there. If you were drip filter people, you like a lighter coffee. If you put cream and sugar in it, who knows what you like, because you can't really taste the coffee. So like what they like is going to change based on that. If you don't know what they like, but you know they like to do pour overs, you can get them a pour over kettle, but that gets out of the inexpensive and into the $100 range pretty quickly. You
know what is coffee related and is squarely in that inexpensive realm?
What, Brad?
A heated coaster, a heated pad, a little
like a
coffee warmer, coffee cup warmer.
I've never had one of those.
I have one right here.
Do you use it?
Yeah, I'm using it right now.
Oh, does it work?
Yeah.
Huh.
It generates heat, it warms the coffee cup, and therefore the coffee within.
Does it keep the coffee hot or just from getting cold?
Warm enough for sure.
Okay, drinkable.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good one.
It was under $20. Like I couldn't even tell you the brand. I mean, there were it was one of those things where there are 3 of them that are identical on Amazon, all under different brands. Like it's that situation. I'm sure you can get. I think there are like Mr. Coffee branded ones if you want to buy like a name you've heard of, but they're like $20-$25 for some basic temperature control, nothing fancy. You're not punching in a number, but it'll have like 2 modes of like hot and hotter.
Does it plug into the wall or in the back of the computer?
Yes. Okay. No, it plugs into. There are USB powered ones, but I didn't want to.
Seems risky.
Yeah, I would rather go into the mains.
I have some friends who will remain nameless who have those stupid Ember mugs. The ones that
you literally wrote stupid mugs in the show notes, and I figured there was a story.
Look, so a few years ago, they're like $150 or $200. They're really expensive.
Dang.
They have a battery built in and it uses inductive charging. And since it's supposed to be washable and I assume the dishwasher, but maybe just by hand, it's all completely sealed. So like once the battery goes, the thing is useless.
Yes.
And like after talking to Kyle a couple of weeks ago, I just want nothing to do with that.
Yeah. When I remember when those got popular when they first came out, and those things really raised my hackles about combining an everyday item with something that is very expendable or prone to failure.
Turning a thing that you should be able to use for the most of a lifetime into a consumable feels really icky to me.
Something that might die in 18 months or 2 years. Yes, that's no.
Another thing that people recommended is something that I had coincidentally already ordered last week to set up my new desk. But these Grid-It cable organizers.
Yes.
They have 3M sticky stuff on one side.
Grid-It?
I'll show you. They're stuck together right now. Hold on.
I assume that's a brand. It's Grid-It.
I believe that is a brand. Yes. Grid-It. They're super stuck. I didn't anticipate this.
As you yank and tug on whatever you're doing there.
Yeah, this is,
I will say.
So they've got these channels, and in between the channels, you put your cables.
Oh, so this sits on a desk and just kind of routes cables?
Well, you stick them up. The idea is you stick them up underneath the desk.
Aha.
And then they route they'll hold the cables in place even upside down.
Okay.
So
those look a little more modular than I've got these very old IKEA kind of metal. I can't remember we've talked about stuff like that before, but I will say in general, cable management is a gift you give yourself, let alone give to someone else. Like,
yeah, I mean, look, it might be if you've given your friend grief about their cable management sitch, maybe don't do cable management.
Well, no,
as a gift. But
all I'm saying is you cannot overstate the value of cleaning up your workspace. I mean,
oh yeah,
like I know some people have a higher tolerance for clutter than others. Mine is very low, but I don't think there's anybody that would not benefit from organizing and tidying just a bit.
Yeah, there you go. So you want to go down? Like we each also made some lists of things that we liked.
Yeah, sure. I will. So let me preface this by saying, like, I am terrible to buy gifts for because I can't ever tell anybody what I want. Like, I honestly, I can't remember the last time I got a Christmas gift from somebody because I've just been telling people for years, like, don't buy me stuff. Like, I don't. There's nothing I need. It's cool. Let's just hang out. Let's go out to eat.
Well, I find that like. Well, I mean, you don't play board games, but like board games are a good one.
Sure.
I find often.
If there's like a category of thing that people like where you can get new ones that are slightly different, then yeah, that works.
Yeah. I bought a set of these LL Bean sleep pants earlier this year. They're kind of expensive at $50, but they're flannel and they're always the right temperature. You know how sometimes like your flannel pants are too hot or they're not hot enough.
I started to say, is it cold enough down there for flannel? But I guess this is the magic flannel.
Always cold enough for flannel in Pacifica. Well, it's wet.
Really?
It's always wet in Pacifica.
Sure.
Yeah. The thing we talked about last year a little bit were the Uniqlo fleecy sweatpants, and those things are too hot. It has to be cold to wear those.
Sure.
They'll make my legs get warm.
Yes.
But they're awesome if you live someplace cold.
Yeah, that I believe.
I like a keychain pry bar. It's something I used to always carry a pocket knife or a multi-tool, and then I stopped doing that because I was getting on airplanes a lot and donated a couple of Leatherman to the TSA.
I wonder where those end up.
They go into some destruction thing by reports. That's what I was told.
That's a shame. That's a shame. I know actually, well, I can't say for sure, but I know back home at the state and county level, they would auction off stuff that was like impounded and confiscated. That's how I ended up with Joey the Knife that people may remember from the early Whiskey Media days.
You got Joey the Knife at a TSA impound?
Not TSA, but my dad bought it at a police auction of like impounded. Somebody lost Joey. Somebody probably named Joey lost Joey in some kind of police altercation.
Wow. But yeah, so the keychain pry bar is a tool that exists solely so you don't use your keys to do things that you shouldn't use keys for, like prying shit apart. Yeah. The one I like is the Gerber Mini Shard. It's like $7.
Is that different from? So I've always heard it as just Gerber Shard. Is the Mini Shard a different model?
I think the Mini Shard is the official name.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. That's the one.
But yeah, basically it's like a 3.5 inch long piece of steel.
Yeah.
It has
no moving parts,
nothing sharp. It has a bottle opener. It has a little bit of a flat screwdriver. It has a terrible Phillips screwdriver that if you need. Like if you don't have a Phillips screwdriver and you need a Phillips screwdriver, it's the best thing ever. But otherwise, you should never, ever use it.
Yeah. It takes forever to unscrew stuff.
I mean, you got to take it off your keychain and it's just a process.
Yeah.
But the main thing is the big flat pry wedge with a nail puller. And you can I've gotten nails out of there. I've pried stuff apart that needed to be pried. It's a really useful thing.
Apparently it has a wire stripper on it, according to their site.
That's in the inside of the nail puller thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty handy. And so I have a flight days after the time of this recording.
Yeah.
And I've never flown with mine before.
I've flown with mine a bazillion times.
So it's definitely 100% TSA approved.
I mean, look, what is TSA approved and what is not TSA approved is always ultimately up to the discretion of the person at the gate.
Extremely true.
Yeah. So, but I mean, worst case, you lose it, you're out $7 is the way I look at it versus minimum of like 30 for a Leatherman.
And so there's nothing on there that qualifies as a blade, right?
Assuming you don't sharpen up the front bits. No. Okay.
But you could use that point as a box opener, maybe.
Look,
maybe
the wire cutter thing. If you get the tape into the sharp part of the wire cutter, it's perfect for opening boxes.
I see. Interesting.
But it would also be very hard to stab someone with.
Yes.
Way less deadly than say a pen.
Like I think my parents gave me my Shard in a stocking, like quite literally. Like it is the perfect stocking stuffer.
Exactly. It's perfect for that. Anker, like pads for key devices or MagSafe chargers for people who have iPhone 12s and newer are awesome. Like a lot of people don't realize that their phones are contactless, especially if you've not been paying attention to the newer phones.
Yeah.
And setting the phone down on the thing at nighttime and letting it charge is a lovely upgrade.
Yeah, it's probably worth, if you're going to buy that for somebody, it's probably worth looking into what their case situation is, because people that have like the big fat cases that put all their, say, credit cards and ID and stuff in there, or what are the little pop disc things that people use
the
for
pop sockets.
Pop sockets, stuff that mounts on the back of a phone case will probably prevent them from using a wireless charger.
Yeah, if you have a big magnetic pad in between your case and your phone, so that you can use like a magnetic holder in your car or something like that, that'll block it too.
Yeah.
Socks.
Yeah,
man.
This was one of the most profound I'm an adult now moments of my life, was realizing that I had gotten to the point where I enjoyed getting socks and underwear for Christmas.
Let me tell you, man, if you buy a pair of $25 smart wool socks for someone, you are going to make a friend for life.
Yeah. Are that good?
Their high-end socks are these, they call them mountaineering socks. And they're, I assume, for like people who are climbing Everest and stuff like that. They're like a half an inch thick, right?
Okay.
It's basically like a slipper that ensconces your feet.
Ooh.
You probably don't wear them with shoes on. Maybe with slippers. I don't know.
It's like you need a shoe a half a size too big to fit them in there.
You need a big old chunky shoe to work these. But they're so cozy and warm, and it's like winter day, you're having some hot chocolate, you just were outside in the snow, you come back in, you pull those things on, you put on your fleece sleep pants, and you're going to cozy right up.
Do you ever wish, I mean, anybody that listens to the show from, say, like Minneapolis or Chicago is probably going to throw things at their phone or speaker right now, but do you ever wish you lived in a colder environment so you could do more fun cold weather stuff?
I miss it. Yeah.
I super do. I super like wish I had a reason to bundle up and build a fire and like wear an overcoat and stuff like that.
We're going to go to snow this winter because the kiddo hasn't been in a long time, and it's time.
That's the thing to do. But then, talk to people who live in those places about shoveling snow, and then you'll feel better pretty quickly.
Get a snowblower. Gina and I put Gina did the New York Times "Where Should You Live" quiz thing the other day, because they did here are the criteria for all the different places that you put in what you like, and 8 of the 10 were in Minnesota. So
wow,
yeah,
jeez,
I got to find out what the fiber situation in Minnesota is. Let's see. The other thing, I got a fountain pen this year. Somebody gave me a fountain pen.
I was kind of excited to get to your bullet point about fountain pens, because I want to know. I want to hear your pitch.
It feels really good to write.
Yeah,
like everybody says that, but it just kind of glides across. Like there's no pressure, there's no pushing. It just kind of like you just kind of float it just above the pen, above the paper, and it makes really lovely ink marks without a whole lot of. Like I'm right-handed, so you can't see it. But it's green
background
screening
removal is killing that. What can I see the pen again?
Yeah, this is.
Does it feel scratchy? I've always
if you're pushing too hard, I think it feels scratchy.
I've always thought that a fountain pen, I've never used one, would feel like a little too nails on chalkboard scratchy when you're writing with it.
Well, so the fountain pen experience I had before was always like the manual kind that you have to suck the ink up into and then you push them back down.
Which, frankly, is kind of what I was envisioning here until you showed me your much more kind of space age one.
Well, so yeah, this one uses, the modern ones use these cartridges. Oh, okay. Shit, you can't see that, but it's basically like a big tube of ink, and you jam it in. When you screw the cap on, then it punctures it, and it then starts running down. The caps seal pretty well, so I don't think I'm gonna have leakage problems. I don't know.
Okay. How do you store it once the ink is breached like that?
I put it on my desk.
Do you store it upside down?
No, it just works itself out. I don't know. Capillary action, something magic.
Okay. Ink does not go everywhere.
The ink doesn't go everywhere.
Okay.
And then the last one is a really good set of screwdrivers. Like,
are we talking electronic screwdrivers?
I mean, it depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody needs screwdrivers though. Like small set of screwdrivers with all the Torx and the Phillips head, and like the if you think about the most common, it's like a standard Phillips, Torx, and hex. And if you give somebody a set that has those 5 things, then they can do a lot of stuff. Yeah. I like the iFixit ones with the spinny tops, but there's a bunch of other good sets out there too.
Yeah, they're all over Amazon these days. One of the nice benefits of those things is you start to, by osmosis, absorb some of the kind of official specifications for those different, what's the term, bits?
Yeah.
Like like a 00 or like a Y.
Oh, the sizes. Yeah.
Sizes and configurations. Like, oh, this is a tri-wing. Like, oh, this is a 00. There's a quadruple 0, right?
Only Nintendo uses the tri-wing. The quadruple 0 is a super small Torx, I think. Right.
But that's and like a good set like that will have them all laid out and labeled, so you can kind of like just stare at them and get some sense of what's what. Like,
there's even sizes on Phillips.
Right. Like I'll say this, like it's super nice to go to like an iFixit guide or something and where they say like, oh, you need this screwdriver and this one at these sizes. And you just open your big foldy case thing and they're all right there and you just pluck them out. You're
much less likely to round out a screw too, if you use the right size head driver. Yeah.
I jotted a few down here. One thing we have is a charging station, which might conjure, the image of something with a lot of electronics in it, but ours is literally just a piece of furniture. I mean, it's all like bamboo. It's basically 2 pieces of bamboo with magnets, so the top comes off.
Okay.
It's hollow inside, and you run cables it's basically slotted and kind of shelved.
Oh, so like the device is slotted in vertically?
Kind of, yes. So ours, I mean, there are all different configurations out there, but ours is essentially sort of 2 tablet slots, like 2 slots in the back that are iPad size. And then in the front, 3 little segmented spots for phones.
Oh, okay.
And there are a bunch of little holes and like routing internally. There's a big hole in the back, and you just route cables through and out these little holes in the front. So you can plug all your phones and tablets and stuff all in at the same time. But the big point is that it hides all the cable mess.
That's awesome.
Like we have it on an end table, like a console table, with all the cables just invisibly running down behind it into a surge protector.
What do you do for charging controllers, Brad?
I typically just plug those into the front of the consoles like a Philistine. I actually
just leave them until they're charged. And
I don't have a I use one until I don't run them all the way down. I run them like halfway down.
Okay.
Or I usually at least on the PS5 until like when I hit 1 bar on a controller is when I plug it in.
Okay.
But I just grab a cable out of the drawer and stick it in front of the console. Why did you have a?
No, I kind of wondered because like with all the kids and with the kiddo stuff and like 3 consoles in the living room again, we are faced with a problem.
Sure. Yeah. That's not a bad gift idea, actually. There's all kinds of charging stand options. Like Sony makes an official PS5 controller charging stand. I think Microsoft has something similar. Yeah, I don't know, except that you'd also have to buy the rechargeable battery kit for the Xbox.
Well, yeah, I use Eneloops in the Xbox controllers, but the PS5, like I need something that does the PS5 and I guess the Switch Pro controllers. Those are the 2 that end up getting used the most here.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like combo stands out there, like from like Madcast or somebody like that.
I mean, they're both USB-C, right?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, retractable cables. While we're here, retractable cables are still going strong. I know I've been advocating them for years.
I want something that like is a base that I can just retract the cables back into when I'm done.
So that's kind of what this charge stand is like that I was talking about, that bamboo thing we have, because the cables don't poke out. They are like, there's just enough give on them to kind of pull them up out of the hole and plug them in. But then you set the phone back down and the cable kind of disappears underneath it.
That sounds awesome.
So we routinely will have like both iPads, a Kindle, and 2 phones charging on that station all at the same time. And there's like no visible cables. It's super tidy.
That sounds rad.
What else do we have here? We talked a little bit about disaster preparedness stuff. I feel like in these times, it's not the worst idea to have a little extra stuff around. You mentioned like having a flashlight is cool. I mean, having one probably on a battery bank is the way to go. I don't think a hand crank is necessarily super useful.
I like having a headlamp and a flashlight, but part of that's due to dog walking and part of it's like, I mean, we always have a bazillion AA's and AAA's around, so it's like less of a problem.
My dad always swore by Surefire flashlights. I can't. That's the sum total of my experience with that brand is through him, so I can't speak to other options.
So I've had really good luck buying anybody that uses Cree bulbs for flashlights.
Okay.
That's basically my criteria for when I buy what flashlights I buy. And I want stuff that uses normal batteries, not weird lithium batteries.
Yeah, that is a downside of the Surefire stuff, is it's a specific battery you have to get.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on the disaster preparedness episode ages ago, but like a hand crank radio, like the one I have has a flashlight built into it. It has a little battery that'll charge slowly as you crank it.
We got one a few years ago for giving money to NPR that has a little solar panel on the top that'll charge it too.
Yeah, this also has that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty useful.
Some stuff like that to have around, I think, is nice. A couple suggestions out of that gift channel that I enjoyed. We have a weighted blanket, but I can't overstate how nice a weighted blanket is.
Why? I've never had a weighted blanket. What's the?
It's just comforting. I don't know how to explain it.
Just like ASMR for your body.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know how to. There's probably some like infant psychology swaddling kind of instinct thing going on there that just feels like. Honestly, it's pretty calming. Like,
okay,
especially if you're kind of an anxious sleeper. If you're a light sleeper, have a hard time falling asleep, or going back to sleep when you wake up. Like,
I like a lot of blankets on the bed. Like, I like a heavy blanket load.
It can get hot. I will say that if
never too warm.
Wow, really?
I'm always cold, Brad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's awful.
I'm kidding. I'm a hot sleeper. I can't.
Oh, no, it can never be like give me a down blanket and a wool blanket on top of that. I'm good to go.
Okay, you should absolutely get a weighted blanket then.
Okay, put it on the list.
It's pretty nice. The last thing I pulled out of that gift channel is a little plastic U-shaped knife scrubber.
Okay, I don't know how I feel about this one.
You were already throwing some shade before this episode, and I'm just gonna expect it to continue here. But we're still in the world where our dishwasher has not been fixed yet, so we're doing all dishes by hand right now. And I am terrible at. We have some pretty nice sharp knives, and I am terrible at washing the sharp knives. Like, I have cut myself before. Every time I do it, I think I'm going to cut myself. Like, it leads to me very gingerly sort of swiping up the blade with the sponge over and over, which takes forever.
So all you do is you hold the blade away from you and you take, Oh, hold on. Do you have hand sponges?
Yes. Well, so we're using a thing now that's like this little mesh cloth kind of thing.
Okay.
But it's, in function, you use it very similarly to a sponge.
Okay, so we buy these. We have this wand thing that a sponge it's like a little plastic thing that you jam the soap into, and then the soap comes through the sponge, and it's like got a handle for the sponge, basically.
Yeah. We've got one of those. We just don't ever.
Well, then with that, my hand's never near the sharp cutting bits.
I should probably. Yeah, I should try that. Anyway, this thing is a little U-shaped piece of plastic with bristles on the inside of the U. So it's kind of a slot. It's like a little slotted brush where you just stick the blade into the slot and then I don't know. Why are you so skeptical?
No. I gotta say, I hadn't really I was always a sponge guy. I was never really a brush guy for the washing of the dishes until fairly recently. So I would just work on it with like the Scotch-Brite side of the sponge really, really hard for a long time. And then once I got a brush, I was like, oh, this is infinitely easier than the way I was doing this before.
Sure. Wait, hang on. Also, y'all have a working dishwasher, right?
Yeah, of course.
Do you just not
you make scrambled eggs and they get stuck on the pan or something?
Yeah, that's fair. What about the knives, though?
Well, the knives don't go in the dishwasher.
No? Okay.
I don't really know why.
I was going to say, I was waiting for some sage wisdom about why knives don't go in dishwashers.
We have, look, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, in our house, some of the members have some strange feelings about the amount of damage that the dishwasher is going to do to things.
Okay.
Others of us are much less apathetic about that entire process.
That's right. I remember being at your house and you chucked that coveted 70s aperture mug that we've talked about recently straight in the dishwasher. And I was like, oh my God, the thing's irreplaceable. What are you doing? And you were like, I think you said your feeling was basically if the mug can't survive multiple trips through the dishwasher, it doesn't deserve to be there. Well,
first off, we have a Bosch, so it doesn't have a heating element, so it doesn't apply direct heat.
Okay.
So like stuff like plastic that normally would get warped and fucked up in a normal dishwasher doesn't have that problem in there. But two, yeah, like things are meant to be used. If it's not going to survive the dishwasher, so be it. So
it's really survival of the fittest in the Smith's kitchen.
Look, 50% of the Smith's kitchen depends on who loads the dishwasher. But anyway, yeah, the good knives don't go in the dishwasher. That's the TLDR at our house.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. You wrote a little kind of postscript here about things we would like to get for Christmas. You listed a racing wheel.
I want a steering wheel for my computer, despite what you said earlier in the episode. Feel personally attacked now.
Sure.
I also not because of any kind of past trauma about asking for an AT-AT for Christmas when I was a youth and getting the Ewok Village instead.
Oh no.
There's a really expensive UCS edition AT-AT with like 5,000 pieces in it that like opens up and you can put the little stormtroopers in. So it's actually like carries them around.
What's UCS?
Ultimate Collector Series.
Okay.
It's basically
the premium Lego.
The Lego is still the same Lego. It's just like a massive number of pieces and clearly for adults versus the right way to say this is that the scale on the normal like $50 Lego X-Wing is wrong for the minifig. Like they have to juice the scale to make it work. The scale on the UCS ones is right for the minifigs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Jeez,
so they're way bigger.
That's a big set.
Yeah. So this one is like 3 feet tall or something ridiculous.
And $800 apparently.
And $800. I'm not going to spend $800 on a Lego AT-AT.
That's a lot of Lego.
I mean, I don't even know what I would do. Like, I don't even know what I'd do with an $800 Lego AT-AT kit after I finish building it. I think I'd probably just take it apart and put it in the garage and then build it again next year. I don't know.
Put it in a hyperbaric chamber or something. Like,
that'd be cool.
Protect it.
Build a polycarbonate shell for it.
Yeah.
Make a set. I don't know what I would do with that. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add here. I guess I just will take this opportunity to say I feel very fortunate that I can't think of anything to add here.
Your ascetic life has continued to pay off.
I mean, yes, I do lead a pretty ascetic existence, but also like it's pretty fortunate to be able to say you don't really want for much, I guess.
It's true. I can't
think of anything. A new TV, maybe? Like the old one's fine.
I mean, when the things that you want for it are as stupid as a Lego AT-AT or a steering wheel for your computer, then you're in a good spot, I guess.
The hierarchy of needs is mostly filled.
Oh, hey, if you have ideas for things, post them in the Discord. Post them in this week's. We'll make a new thread in this week's episode, or you can send them to the email at techbot@content.town. We're always looking for Q's to turn into A's at that email address as well. So you can send those in. We'll get to those at the end of the month.
Wait, before we go, one more order of business.
Oh, yeah.
Watch Sneakers.
Why would you watch Sneakers, Brad?
The time has come for you to watch the major motion picture Sneakers from 1992.
Starring Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Stephen Tobolowsky, Mary McDonnell, Sidney Poitier, Sir Ben Kingsley.
Stephen Tobolowsky getting surprisingly high billing on that one.
Look, I lost track of who was in the movie. I'll be honest for a minute. It's a big cast. River Phoenix in a rare lighthearted role.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen anything with River Phoenix in it before. Anyway.
Wait, you never saw the third Indiana Jones movie?
Oh, I have seen. Yes, I probably it's been a very long time.
Okay.
Anyway.
You never saw My Own Private Idaho?
I did not.
Oh man, it's an incredible movie.
This is like one of his final roles, in fact. Anyway, Sneakers. Next week we have watched and we'll be discussing the film Sneakers.
It's not about shoes.
No, it is not.
It's about people that break into places for money.
Yes, they sneak.
It's a white hat, black hat sitch.
They sneak into things and make off with secrets or money or whatever. You should watch the movie.
Yeah. If you're in the US, it's on HBO Max. If you're outside of the US, I don't know where it is, but you know how to find things, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And we will be talking about it on next week's episode.
Yeah, it's exciting.
But this is the time of the show when we thank our patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
As always, Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod is 100% listener supported. The only way this show happens is thanks to the generosity of several thousand TechPod patrons. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. And as always, we want to thank our executive producer tier patrons, starting with #BunnyCrimes, Andrew Slosky, Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, David Allen, Jacob Chappell, James Kamek, Joel Krauska, and Twinkle Twinkie. Thank you all so much for your support.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
I guess that'll do it for us this week, Brad.
Yes, and an early happy holidays to all.
Yeah. Do your shopping soon. If you haven't started already, you may be too late.
Oh, geez. I didn't even think about talking about like shipping and logistics and supply chain stuff.
Like
in this
stuff is kind of jacked right now. So don't dilly dally any more than you already have.
Yeah. Or hey, like just give the gift of togetherness.
Yeah.
Spend that's like I alluded to this earlier, but like kind of doing things with the people you care about is perhaps the greatest gift.
Make a nice pie and then pile it up for them. They'll love it.
Yeah. Give them the pie pile.
Pie pile. Everybody loves a pie pile. See y'all next week. Bye. Bye.